Hey guys, want to interrupt here and talk a little bit about why I'm using 3.65. 4.1 just got announced, I think it was yesterday, and it's got all these bugs in it, and some extensions don't work, and they still haven't fixed everything from 4.0, and I don't know what the Blender Foundation is doing, but it's clear that they're just focused now on trying to make Blender as competitive with Houdini as possible. And I don't think that, but maybe 0.1% of the users use the full geometry nodes. So anyway, just letting you know, I'm staying with the LTS 3.6.5 until they get these bugs fixed. Our developers have submitted some of the bug reports and we'll figure things out. But until then, I don't see a big reason to switch. There's nothing that I really need to have in any of the newer versions, and 3.65 works absolutely great. So that's why you may be seeing this and you're not seeing it in a newer version of Blender. I'm just not at all convinced that the quality control is there for these 4.0 series. And I'm hoping that it'll get there at some point, but seems like they're a little bit out in front of their skis. Okay, so last video, we created this box basically using displacement maps that we created ourselves, a trim sheet. And what I wanted to show you about this was I added some things to the material so that I could take the stuff that's deep inside the box. And as you can see, there's a lot of different kinds of things there. And I'm able to turn that into emissive property. So let's take a look at this material a little bit as we're looking through this. So we went through and we created a very basic material before. And so what I've done here is I've taken the same height map that we had and I added a color ramp. And the color ramp is set to constant, right? Let's do it this way. Here's our depth map. So what I want to do is I want to basically only select the ones that are way back in there, right? So that's what this is doing. And then with that set up, then I can apply that to the emission strength. And of course, white is just 1, and we want to maybe an emission of 10. So that's what this number multiplied does. And so by doing that, it's relatively simple to get it just to look like this. And what's cool is it's not just solid colors. There's a lot of little stuff going on inside there that makes it look like there's different types of entities, objects, LEDs, whatever inside there generating those images. So that's a cool thing. I want to show you now how I would create another kind of trim sheet, one that would be done much quicker. Typically, you may have kit bashing stuff lying around, and in my case, I do. But also, if you have Spock also uses D-packs just like Flex, right? And if you look at the Spock D-packs, there's a lot of different ones. There's Bendable, there's a Sci-Fi, the Spock Sci-Fi one, which is this one right here. So I'm gonna take this one, and what I'll do is I'll load it to the scene, right? I'll go into this SSF map scene, and I'm gonna delete this object as well. And now I'll go into Spock from here, and let's just go ahead and load this to this scene here. So now we're loading it directly into the displacement scene. And I'm gonna just use that for now. So I'll go back into my Flex add-on, and I'll go into displacement mode, and I'm gonna hit the apply generated map. And wow, we've got a lot of stuff there. That's a Setopia one, so I'm gonna undo that. I don't want that one. I'm gonna turn on filter D-packs. That'll give me the one I want, gaze. Apply generated map. There we go. So let's just take that, and let's again go back into our modifiers and make the size 0.5 and this size 0.5. And so we'll do that, and then we'll just jack up the density a little bit until we get something that we like. And the background we want to be black. There. So there we have it. So let's just start there. We've got a bunch of things here. So I'm going to go grab this floor one. Let's select the panel, hit period key to locate. So I'm going to zoom out, and actually first let's go into this, and let's set this to 1. Okay, we'll just grab this G. I'm going to move this down here. So I'm just going to move some stuff that I know that I want. So I'm going to close that. One thing that I want to do is I know this is going to be 1 across. So I'm going to make the placement of this is going to be the location on the x-axis is going to be 1, right? Oops, or I'm sorry, 0.5. So that puts it halfway in, exactly halfway in. Or if I just Shift D and duplicate it in place and then hover over this, hit the minus key, it puts that over there. So that's good. And then I can say Shift D, X, and I can just move this and Shift D, and then I'll do the same thing here. Hit the minus key again and put it there. So we've got that. Now I can grab something like maybe this and say Shift D and move that down here. And I'm going to put that right there. And that's going to go up maybe or below this a little bit like that. Let's put that at 0. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just moving things around. So you're going to start to see that I'm creating just a basic pattern, and I'm going to just keep doing this, and when we're done I'll show you what we do next. So okay, so now it's time to go ahead and start adding some materials to this. And so the way we're going to do that is go into this view. And one thing I want to note is that I've got these guys are quite a bit different from these in terms of the material. So let's look at that material. This is a dark anodized. So I'm going to take this and all of these, and I'm going to grab just something like this, and I'm going to basically say copy material selected so that these are a little darker because I don't really want them that light. So that's one. So next thing is we go into our Flex 2 K-Pack, and in my case I'm just going to use this CWZ depth, and we're going to add that material to that object. And of course we have to assign it in here. So we go into here, this is CWZ depth. Okay, and it's got this little thing that says adjust for depth. So let's hide this and let's go to here and take a look at this a little bit, and we'll adjust this downward because I want it to be lower, right? So I'm going to move it down something maybe down. That's probably good right there. And actually, you know, right now we're looking pretty good. I might take this and move this over here so I can have just a little more. And what I can do is I can hit G and then Z, and I can move this back and forth. So I can move it down like that if I want to. So this has got a little word that says Tatus, which I really don't want, and that's the label. So I'm gonna just subtract that, get rid of that. See if there's any other words in here. There's one here, and get rid of that. Label 2, don't want that. Okay, so this is gonna be our color. So we'll go ahead and say File, Save As, Trim Sheet. This is going to be the second one, so we're going to call this 2-color. Save. And here, let's toggle the scene lighting. Got to be in this mode right here. Okay, there it is. That's the scene lighting. We want to go in here and turn off our ambient occlusion mode right here. So that's all we have right there. This is going to be our render for the texture map. So we want that to be 4K. Save it. And we're going to hit this render scene button. Okay, and there we have it. We have our image. Looks pretty good. Got a couple different colors in here and some different stuff going on. So what's going on? Looks good. So let's do this. Let's save this. Again, we're going to save it as a PNG and call it the GTS2 trim color 4K. Save as image. Okay, and now we'll come back in here and I'm going to save as, and this time I'm going to save this one instead of color. I'm going to call this one emissive because I want to have an emissive map here. So the way I'm going to do that is I've got this dots one right here. So I'm going to grab one of these dots to see what they look like. Okay, so let's just, rotate that around a little bit. So here's our LED lighting kind of thing going on there. Let's grab one more of these. Render that. Okay, here we have it. Let's alt save this. I'm going to save this one as our color, and should have put these in earlier, which I didn't, but anyway, so let's go ahead and escape out of that. Now we want to render this in the emissive mode. So I'm going to go in toggle scene lighting, go back here, and you'll see that the background now, the back stuff, this stuff right here, let's see, that stuff, I need to adjust that and turn that to CW background black also. And now if I look at this, you'll see that's just all the emissive stuff is what we're looking at. So hit F12, and that will be our emissive map. So we'll save that, trim, and then we'll save this as trim emissive, except we don't want EXR. We want ping on this 8-bit, save image. Okay, next we need to set up the depth map, and so I'm going to save this as this depth file. And for depth maps, we also want to be the scene lighting to be off. Let's go back into our objects here, and in this case we're gonna add a different kind of shader, because we've got a lot of different objects at different levels here. And so the shader I want to add is, I'm going to go into KitOps, into our flex, and let's add this one called CWZ No Way. And the reason we're using this is because it will actually range the Z values all the way from the very bottom to the top of every object. The other one that we were using only does it for each individual object, but this one will do it for all the objects. So let's add that material, and then let's select all the objects, A, and then we'll go to the material here, and we're just going to say copy material to selected, right? So once we've done that, let's go to our camera view again, and let's go to this view here, and you'll see that now everything's working the way it should, except that we've got these weird planes. And these are actually the dot maps. So if I go over to our dots and just turn all of this off, let's just turn all of this off like this, then these will come through nicely. So we can see that we have a lot of good grayscale stuff. This is some plain stuff right there, but I think it all looks pretty good. And once we have this done, then all we need to do at this point is go in here, set it up to 8K, and render it. Okay, here we are. This is our Z depth, and we're going to save this to, and I'm going to make this depth, and this is not 4K, this is 8K, and it's EXR, and we save that. Okie doke. Let's go ahead and close this, and let's save this, and let's do a new, and we'll try these out real quick. So I'm going to apply the material that we made just earlier, which I actually saved. And that was this one, the trim, this one right here. So I'm going to add that material to this box. Okay. And let's go ahead and just add a bevel modifier. And set A, let's go 1, 2, 3, select boundary, Control E, mark seam, A, U, unwrap. So UV editing. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we have this one and this one. Those are those three, right? So let's rotate those there, and then let's invert them, and let's rotate these also so they're going the right direction for our trim sheets. Go back to layout, and now I'm going to import the other textures in. So I'll close this one, and we're going to open up the color 4K, and this one we're going to open up the depth 8K. And you can start to see what we have going on there. Interesting. And let's punch this up a little bit, get it a little lighter. Certainly not exactly what we want, but now we need to add that emissive map. So I'm going to take this, Shift D, I'm going to move it up here, and I close this, and I'm going to open up the emissive map. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to get a mask that I can combine with this other mask. So the way I'm going to do that real quick is let's real quickly add our modifier. And our displace. And our depth map to that. And right now I'm showing the face orientation, and that actually can be valuable in this stage. Let's go and let me show you why, because I can go back into here and I can start adjusting this mid-level down until those kind of go away. So somewhere around there is where they go away. Q, let's turn off face orientation now and do this so you can start to see. And you can see it's actually working. We don't have it set up very nicely right now, but we'll get that done. So let's just go into the UV editing mode now. And what I'll do is, by the way, it is neat, is that once you've got these broken out, you can just select one, hit L, and you're going to get the ones over here the way you want them. This can be anything. I'm going to go into the color screen here, and what actually we want is we want two color. That's what we want. This is the one we want. And over here, I'm going to turn off show overlays, right? So this is that, and we want to go down to here so we can see what we got going. So there's something going on in here. I'm trying to figure what that is. Let's jump this up to 8. Let's see what happens when we do that. That's what that is. That's some kind of, oh, that's an older version of the map. It looks like our displacement map is the wrong one. So let's go into here and let's change that to that one. There we go. That looks better. Okay. Now we're starting to see something that actually is making a little more sense there. Good. Yeah, that's really it. So let's go in here, and instead of 1, let's make it 0.5. Let's just make it so it's not quite so aggressive there. And we got little LED lights and stuff like that going on, which is working good. If I want to go ahead and add the rest of that background lighting, I'm going to show you how we can do that as well. Okay, so I moved these around a little bit. I've moved the actual depth up higher, and I moved all the stuff that we used for that. And if I do this, we'll see that, yeah, we've got the right cutout for it. Actually, we don't want this. We want this color going directly into here. So if we look at this one, that's that. And we look at this one, that's the inside stuff, right? The stuff that's going to glow orange. And so let's take this. We're going to Shift D, put that up here. I'm going to put this is the multiply goes into the strength. The emission color is orange. So now, if I do this, I think we're going to be right. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, good. So now the mask for these materials, we're going to create a mix shader for these, and we're going to take this same color and we're going to put it in the FAC. And we're going to move these, we're going to reverse these, that one there, and this one up here. And now we have what we want, right? And as you can see, that's a pretty good model. The detail's pretty good. If I can punch this up to what we got, we're at 3 million. Let's put it up at 9. Let's jack it up a little more and see what happens. Yeah, so that's pretty good. And then we can use the same technique to reduce the faces to basically virtualize the model as we did before. But I think you get the idea. And so this is a different way of doing things. It's using kit bashing techniques to create stuff. And now the next video we're going to do is where we apply these two new sets of texture maps, and we're going to apply them to the scene that we created in the first video. So there may be a question as to why we're not using normal maps, and I would like to address that and also show you a way you can create a normal map out of the height map. First off, creating a normal map using Flex is not a simple thing to do. It would require a lot of programming, along with the destructive combining of objects. There are some normal map converters in the compositor, but they're not that good. From what I can tell, they're not as good as what you could do in a free program like Photopea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open from computer. This is by the way, I should mention, this is a free Photoshop clone called Photopea, and it's perfectly legal. I actually pay money so I can get rid of the advertising. If you use it for free, you're going to get this part of the area right here will be taken up with advertising, but it's the same product. And I use it a lot. In fact, I use it way more than Photoshop because it's so responsive and so fast to use. So I really like this product. Really good. Anyway, let's go ahead and I'm going to open up one of those height maps that we created from the computer. So let's go into, here's a trim depth. So this is going to be an 8K EXR image. So this is a huge image. And what it's got to do, it's going to load it up to the Photopea server. So it's going to take a while. So I'm going to pause now and let it load. And you notice it'll say, you'll get this, just say wait. And I'll pause now and I'll load it. First, I should mention that one of the things that Photopea does really nice here is it actually converts this to an 8-bit image automatically. If you've ever tried to convert like a 16 or 32-bit image in Photoshop to an 8-bit equivalent, you'll find that it's incredibly difficult. There's all kinds of hoops you got to jump through. This does it automatically, does it very well. So now we have an 8-bit image. So what I want to do first is I want to resize this. I don't need 8K resolution for a normal map. You use that for displacement maps, but for a normal map, honestly, a 2K resolution is fine. So first I'm going to just basically go into here and say image size, and we'll just make it 2048 and say, okay. So this is going to resize it down to something like this. And there, that's still, you can see that's 1-to-1 scale. It's still really high quality. So next I'm going to, I could go filter 3D normal map, but that won't work for some reason because I think it's because it's an EXR. So I'm going to say file, export as ping, and we'll save that. And it's going to actually just go right into your downloads folder. And then I'm going to close it and I'm going to open up from computer and my downloads folder. I'll just open up this one, which we just saved. And that's our 2K image. Now it's pretty simple to go to filter, 3D normal map right there. And that's really what we want. What you'll see is that first off, this thing needs to be inverted, right? So now that's correct. And then second of all, it's got a lot of extra stuff going on, this little blurred out edge. So I would set this to about 20 in this case. And now we've got a much better normal map. And then we can just say file, export as, and again, you want to make sure you use ping here and not JPEG because you don't want those artifacts showing up. And then you can just basically save it. Let's call this trim. I'm going to call this normal and then 2K and save. And what I like to do is I'll open this right up by clicking here and it opens up in this photo thing and I'll just say file, save as, and I'll put it wherever I want to, which is going to be this trim sheet demo 2K. So that's that. So that's a normal map save. And now we're good. So that's how you create a normal map from a height map. That's the best way I know to do it. I've tried some online converters and they just don't work as well. This seems to work really well. So anyway, check that out.